My name's Daniel Buckroyd. I'm Artistic Director of New Perspectives Theatre Company, and I'm the adapter and director of The Butterfly Lion.
And can you tell us about where the idea to adapt this particular story came from?
Well, I read the book first about 10 years ago. I was pointed towards it by a teacher friend, but also I had children who were kind of coming up to the age where this kind of book was going to be great for a bedtime story. And so I read the book and immediately thought, what a fantastic story. I'm a complete sucker for a great yarn, which this is, and immediately started thinking, I wonder if there is a way that this could be theatricalised, and began to come up with a concept for that. And we had a first go at that a number of years ago with a very small show, just a cast of 3, and it was very much a storytelling based piece. And now we're revisiting it with a larger cast, more resources, and it's a fuller, still storytelling based, but a more epic piece, hopefully.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you're bringing the story to life using the different elements like music and movement and the puppets?
The only way to bring this story to life is to use all the resources that are available to you as a theatre maker. Storytelling, yes, I've mentioned that, but also music and sound and lights. The story takes us through so many different locations and is so sweeping in its narrative through time and space that you've got to move the imaginations of the audience on with you, and music and movement in light and a creative use, hopefully, of a big, open, playful space will enable us to do that. And then there is the huge challenge of the fact that it's a piece about animals, or it's a piece that animals feature enormously in, and so you have to come up with a solution to that, and our solution in this case is to use puppets. And so we're integrating that into the storytelling, hopefully in a way that doesn't feel like it's just added on, that it actually grows out of the storytelling framework. And we have 2 main narrator figures and then 5 other actors who play all of the other parts. So there's lots of multi-role play as well.
And can you tell us a bit more about how you're creating the different worlds and the different times that the story spans?
Well, the whole story emanates really from a kitchen. Because the mystery that is being unravelled during the course of the piece is held by a character called Millie, who is an old woman who lives in a big semi-derelict old house in Wiltshire, and the story is forced into the open because she has an encounter with a schoolboy called Michael who runs away. So sticking true to that premise that the storytelling is happening in that kitchen and the imaginative worlds emanate from that kitchen, all of the objects and costumes and ideas that are used to tell the story also start in that kitchen and then expand. And that to some extent includes the puppets as well. At least the notion of where they come from comes from that kitchen and the objects that woman has collected over her life, partly from her life, partly from the life of her husband, who's a key character in that story. So it's the playful use of those objects and those ideas that are caught up in that kitchen that enables us, hopefully, to move the audience from one place to another. The set doesn't change a great deal. It's the landscape in Wiltshire that the kitchen is set in. We add a little bit of new interest to it at the beginning of the second act when we move to France during the years of the First World War, just to help us make that imaginative journey. And other than that, it will be through mostly the use of sound and music. There's a full score, quite filmic score, that accompanies the whole thing, and through the use of light that we will hopefully move people's imaginations from time to time and from place to place.
Brilliant. Can you tell us a bit about what you're enjoying about rehearsals?
Rehearsals are great fun. Rehearsals are almost always a lot of fun because you're gathered in a room full of creative, inventive, playful people, and that's a hoot. In this case, the fact that the story is such a rich starting point, it's got everyone's imaginations buzzing. They're all thinking about why their characters do this, why their characters do that, and coming up with interesting and often brilliant ideas about, well, if we do so and so, then it'll make the storytelling clearer, or it'll be a really wonderful moment. And being in a room where all that's going on is great fun. That's what I'm enjoying a lot. My job in the midst of all that is not only to obviously have a strong set of ideas of my own, but also to be constantly open to all of that, and always looking for the best idea, and so just editing all of that creativity.
And do you have a favourite moment that audiences should look out for?
I suppose at the moment I've got a few favourite moments. There are big spectacular sequences like the period in the First World War where Bertie's in the trenches I think will be very dramatic and really have the audiences caught, imaginatively caught and on the edge of their seat. There are really sweet moments, often with the puppets, where the characters are just beginning to get to know the lion cub, or when the lion's at its most playful. I think those will be great fun. The lion puppets are extraordinary. Our puppet maker's doing a wonderful job. And then there are other moments that really intrigue me, about the relationships between the characters. That's another reason why this is such a great piece, is that the relationships between the characters are complex and layered. And so, for example, stuff between Bertie's mother and father is often very deep and painful and touching. And I think our adult audiences will recognise a lot of what's going on there as being, real life.
And what do you think the message at the heart of the story is that will appeal to audiences? Almost every single Michael Morpurgo book that I've read and loved, which is almost all of them, seems to, at some level, have storytelling at its heart. It's not just that he's a great storyteller, but that he is passionate about the power of storytelling to achieve a whole range of things, bring people together, link people to their pasts, that kind of thing. And I think in this case, it is the handing on of a story from one generation to another, and that preserving the value of a historic relationship that seems at the heart of this piece. And as often is the case again in Morpurgo's work, that's across the generations. So we have a story here from a woman in her 70s being passed on to a boy of around about 10, 11 years old. So it jumps a generation. Again, that's a recurrent theme, and I think is absolutely key. It's as though if the play and the experience of watching this play is about anything, it's about people leaving the theatre and telling each other stories across the generations. Okay, and last question. As a parent yourself, what would you like children who've watched the show to take away with them?
I hope that children will take all kinds of things out of this. They'll be utterly wrapped up in the story and excited about the drama, and we'll be chatting to their parents and their friends and their grandparents about the drama afterwards. But also that they'll be inspired by the playful nature of the storytelling that we're using. The let's pretend, make believe worlds that we create are really based on the kind of play that they'll know very well from spending time with their friends. And so hopefully they'll be re-enthused about the power of that play and see that it has a place not only in childish games but also in more serious storytelling as well, and in theatre and the performing arts.